Beep, 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 boop. Hey, welcome to Creative Block. We're your host, Gene.
And we interview people in the animation industry about their life, work, and hobbies while we doodle jam.
We asked people on Twitter if they had specific topics they wanted us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts.
And today with us, we have Toniko Pantoja.
Hey!
Woo!
Hi, guys. What's going on?
Thanks for coming on the show.
Of course, it's a beautiful, warm Sunday today.
And it is, huh?
Got my
nice.
Filipino food. Yeah.
Good. Oh, that sounds good. I'm hungry.
You should be.
I should have eaten before we started this. Oh, well. I'll be fine. I'll just die. Toniko, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Toniko. I work as a story artist. I've done some 2D animation and some character design work in the industry. I was at DreamWorks for quite a while, but now I'm currently at Netflix Animation.
Nice. It's a hell of a career. Yeah, you do a lot on YouTube. You do a lot of videos. You talk a lot about the animation industry, right?
Yeah, it just basically how I treat my YouTube channel is kind of like a journal. It's just there for me to just express thoughts and feelings about my work, or just things that I just want to share. But nothing. I don't really see myself as like a full dedicated YouTuber. Just the thought of being a YouTuber is just like, ugh, I don't know. I don't have a YouTuber personality.
Makes your skin crawl.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to become YouTubers ourselves. That's not true at all. There's something really like consuming, I think, about becoming a full-time YouTuber. The people that I know that do it just seem miserable. It's like to have to constantly put out content.
Oh yeah, no, it's crazy because like I sometimes have to keep uploading stuff weekly, just so that my stuff gets shown.
Yeah, the algorithm.
Through the algorithm, and because like I monetize my channel, so like those views, they kind of do matter. It's like I don't really see YouTube money as like anything big or anything that I would count on, but it's like, well, it would be nice to keep it consistent. So I do try to upload like once or every 2 weeks, but it is so much work.
Yeah, because your videos I was watching your video on Blender Grease Pencil like earlier this morning because it's actually becoming a tool that is considered by the animation industry to probably become like one of the softwares, like one of the competitor softwares. So I was like watching your video and I was like, there's a lot of work that goes in these videos. Like, how long would you say you spend on making a video for YouTube?
Sometimes, well, I would say that it would take me in a total about like 2 to 3 full days, because like I'll spend maybe an hour just recording the dialogue of what I want to say.
Yeah.
And then for the YouTube videos, the way I did it was I just put in recordings of whatever project that I'm working on for fun, or anything like personal project, and then just like have that play on top of my voice, or my voice is on top of the video. Then I'll just make slides just like talking about like, if I wanted to emphasize things, then I'll like add in or record some extra footage just for those specific slides. But it is tiring, and sometimes it's so unfulfilling because like that time could be spent like actually making stories, or working on personal projects, things that really matter.
Yeah, the editing and there's a lot of stuff that goes into just making content with a capital C. That word, just I hate how everything's been boiled down to content.
Oh, dude, did you notice that on YouTube, like it used to be called videos and now it's content? Oh.
Yeah. It just feels like everything is, oh man, this is going to become Grandpa Gene. But like it just feels like everything's like boiling down to just like being this like feed bag of fucking shit. And it's like, but it's so hard to maintain that, and it's like I think a lot of artists are struggling with needing to put out stuff constantly, and then it only has a shelf life of like a day. And then it's gone. But anyway, we'll have plenty of time to talk about about that.
Oh yeah, totally.
I want to hear about how you got your start as a kid, and like, what got you into art and animation in general.
So I grew up in Indonesia, and I grew up in just a pretty small town. I think it was called Cinere. It's been such a long time since I've lived in Indonesia now. But, one of the things that we had was a Betamax player. And if for those who don't know, it's basically the thing that got beat out by the VHS player. But it still went strong in Asia. Also, along with the Laserdisc. Like, there were still rental places that had Laserdiscs and Betamax tapes that you could rent or buy. But our Betamax player, we already had beta tapes of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Disney classics like Rescuers Down Under, like all the really classic Disney stuff. But I remember the one that really stuck out was this Betamax copy of The Last Unicorn, which is like honestly one of my favorite stories up to now. So I feel like that one was like, I think from then on, I always knew that animation was a medium, not really a genre. Because like that was like so different to the family friendly stuff. It was kind of scary. So yeah, I mean, I grew up with anime and cartoons. Anime was already really big in Southeast Asia. In Indonesia, we had Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball were like already really big over there. The original Dragon Ball, not Z.
Yeah.
And I think Cartoon Network Asia, we had shows like Akazukin Cha-Cha and I can't remember the Japanese name of this one, but the English name was called Ninja Robots. And it was cool. And we also got like really cool stuff over there. I'm just trying to think, like, I think I was always drawing, these characters, but I was also really inspired by video games too. So Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy VIII, Squall Leonhardt, cool design, very emo. I didn't know what emo was back then, but I thought it was cool and edgy.
V is an expert.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was so cool and edgy. And then, growing up with sisters who were already into the anime scene, and my oldest sister was already an otaku, so she was already like, collecting either obscure or not really well-known anime. So she also collected a lot of anime that had a lot of bishonen, like really pretty boys. And one of them was called Fushigi Yugi. And, all my sisters would swoon over this girly-looking dude named Hotohori and Tamahome. Oh, I remember everything. I can't
believe you remember all
That's
these
crazy
names.
that you remember the names, because I remember reading Fushigi Yugi when I was like 12. I do not remember any of these characters' names.
Oh, no, I remember it because, like, my sisters would just go like, oh, Team Tamahome. Oh, no.
Damn.
Team Hotohori. Like, and, there's a crazy love triangle between, like, them and the main character, Miyaka. So I remember, like, a lot of stuff.
That's so funny. Did you read shoujo, or did you just kind of like hear it through your sisters?
It was I didn't read it. I just watched it.
Oh, it was on TV, right?
Yeah, it was on we rented VHS tapes of it. Of Fushigi Yugi. Another one that we watched a lot was Ranma.
Oh yeah.
One half, and that one I really liked, and that one was a lot of fun. I would say like Ranma has been a pretty good inspiration for me because it everything about it is just like super fun and made me want to like just draw those characters. Super short torso, super long legs.
Influence, yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. I think I'm just trying to like think about like specific moments. Because we did talk about this, G, but it was until like the early 2000s where I discovered Flash, Macromedia Flash. Before it was called Adobe Animate, it was called Macromedia Flash.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make cartoons based off, my friends at school, so I did that. But then I also discovered the world of like sprite animation. Mega Man was my favorite video game of all time. Legends definitely was one of them, but there were websites where you could collect sprite sheets of those, then you save them, you import them into Flash, and you cut it out, you trace that bitmap, and then you animate it through Flash, and you make a Flash cartoon.
It's such a weird snapshot. Like, I feel like if somebody didn't grow up around that time, it just feels so alien. But like, yeah, that was the shit. Like that. I cannot overstate how fucking popular that stuff was when, because we're probably the same age, right? And like more or less, and like yeah, those early days of like animation was so much sprite animation because I think it just didn't take up as many resources. You didn't have to be a good artist necessarily. And so you could just focus on the actual animating and like the dynamics and making stuff look cool. And I kind of miss that vibe. I've been trying to figure out how to like bring it into my own work almost and like to focus more on the animating and less on the drawing because the drawing part always wears me down. But yeah, the sprite animation was a gateway for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, because it was basically just like, grabbing certain poses and just manipulating them and moving them around.
Yeah.
And, that was also when I started discovering websites like Newgrounds where people made parody cartoons of it with, really crass and crude humor. So it was a good time. And then there were like Flash cartoons that I discovered, like Genryu's Blade, which just like pushed the Flash medium all the way through. And, made me go, holy crap, I can make this in Flash 5 on my Windows 95?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I gotta learn how to do this stuff. And then, I played around with it, but I don't think it was until, like, the end of middle school and the start of high school where I considered learning how to draw.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to ask. Were you, like, a drawing before you started animating, like, on a regular basis?
I think, I played around with Flash and I drew a lot, but it was like very, early Flash cartoons look, like very basic, and I didn't really study drawing. And the only time I considered studying like how to draw the fundamentals and stuff like that was through high school. Because like I wanted to up my draftsmanship, and there were a lot of internet forums that always talked about good draftsmanship and, drawing and how you should not draw anime and just it's just like, don't draw anime, learn from like the classics if you want to be a good drawer. You gotta learn how to draw good if you want to get into animation. And there was a lot of communities like that who were very gung-ho in draftsmanship. V and I, we used to hang out in another forum called Joined Artists too.
Yeah.
And that one, had a lot of very skilled teens who were into screamo music.
Yeah.
But also, like, the cool thing was that, like, people were driven because I remember, what was his username? Nanoko, I guess? Like, he got into the animation industry later, and our friend Max was on the forum. Spencer?
Spencer came in, I think, the third wave of Joined Artists. So, because, like, that place shut down just randomly, like out of nowhere, and then JAE started the third batch or the third forum for it. So he so that's when like everyone came back, Cliff, Mischief, and then that's how Spencer came about. Spencer 1, that's who we're talking about. So there was like a pool of like super talented people, but sometimes people were just like super angry, and the feedback wasn't really feedback. It was more about just like attacking the other person and telling them like how stupid they were.
That's interesting because I don't remember that side of it, but also like I guess I was not like that much on the forums and I didn't post that much, but I could see that. I mean, it was a lot of kids from Newgrounds, right?
Oh yeah, I remember there was another guy, Zwickle. He was the one who brought me to Join Artists, and the way he sold it was like, you've been invited to this society or this thing, and I'm like, whoa, I feel special. And then like I came in at the same time this other user named Leafworthy came in too. I don't know if anyone really remembers him, but he used to be pretty big in the Newgrounds or the Flash animation days. But yeah, like it felt like I was part of this like really elite or cool gang, but at the same time, like it was also like harsh. Alan was also in there too, and we would always talk about like, wow, what is up with these people? Like, why are they so mad?
Yeah, there's a weird like I don't know. There's a toxicity to the Flash animation community, and like I think it was definitely because it was a lot of like lonely edgelord kids. But unfortunately, I feel like a lot of them are still like that, and like there's still a problem with that scene, and it sucks because it's like there's no reason why it should be like that. But
I kind of get it.
I don't know.
I feel like I remember I remember those days when I was on when I would hang out on Newgrounds or like on those forums, and yeah, there's definitely like a loneliness, and like you don't really know, you don't have friends, so you don't know how to be social, you don't know how to connect with others.
I mean, it's kind of like like you can't be putting that much of your time into something like animation, and then, you know, at that time Flash was kind of the only tool. It just happened to be that's what the community built itself around. But like, you can't put that much time into it and also have a social life. Like, I feel like if you're out, if you have friends and you're one of the kids that has a bunch of friends and is popular, you're probably not spending hours at home animating
100%,
on the weekend, whatever.
yeah.
And so like, that's what I, personally, that's what I poured my time into, because it was like I had control over that.
That's a good thing that I even remember. But yeah, like, I would kind of say that I wouldn't say that I was a super lonely kid, but I could see myself being alone, because, most of my attention was based on, the internet, or,
right,
uploading my newest DeviantArt sketch, or, trying to mingle with the Newgrounds community. So I didn't really, get in touch with a lot of like my real life friends. And I mean, I had a pretty good set of friends who were really supportive of what I did, even though that I didn't feel like I was edgy or cool with them. Like, they were pretty supportive in what I was doing. So I think I had a good circle of friends growing up.
Online or in person? Like,
in person. So okay, like, good. I didn't. So I felt like whatever I was doing, it felt like a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's really great.
Yeah, that is good. I definitely gravitated towards the artsier kid in my class, and like would try to form bonds around, like, we both like to make stuff, especially as I got older. That was always like a priority almost. But it's hard. I think, if you can't find that and you're an artistic kid, it's like you're gonna gravitate towards the internet, making connections there, and finding these communities. And oh boy, I just hope that community like actually isn't toxic and shitty, and
it's true that like it's like, because it's funny, because for me as a kid, I moved right around the moment when I spent a lot of time on the internet. Was the moment when I moved for the first time. So I lost all of my childhood friends. So I started going on French forums, and then we moved to the States. And then I don't know, I was on French forums for a while, and they were, funny enough, they were not that toxic. People were pretty nice. And then I started, like, when I was in the US and I started getting better with English, that's when I kind of started like hanging out on Newgrounds. And it was definitely a different vibe. But I think Newgrounds, like, I think the probably positive side of, it had like the wall, and there was like a rank with number 1 to 10, I think. And you kind of wanted your art to be ranked on the front page.
Yeah.
So
no.
I feel that would push you as a kid to do some really good stuff,
Are you saying this is in the French forums or the American?
No, that was Newgrounds. That's Newgrounds.
Yeah,
like having this rank and like kind of pushing you, because like French forums was just like a forum. Someone would post their art. People would be pretty nice. It was just very low key, so there wasn't like a whole lot of incentive to get better. Whereas Newgrounds are like those communities, just because of that ranking system, I guess. Like that kind of I don't know. It's just something. I'm just saying that.
No. I think you're hitting something, because like I do remember like being addicted to like making top daily feature, like,
oh god,
yeah. And I would hit those like time to time. Actually, no, I hit them because I would only like submit a cartoon once a year pretty much, and I would always hit like top daily feature or whatever. But then like the last thing that I uploaded to Newgrounds, I didn't even get that. I got like second, and I deleted it. I was so pissed at myself. Like, it does something to you. Like, you get really, really you get really deep into that game, and it's kind of like you get this feeling like, oh man, did I get worse? Did I just suck? So I totally understand, like, yeah, that is a factor that I totally forgot to consider. And even back in DeviantArt, the daily deviations.
True.
Like, yep.
I never got a single daily deviation because I never did fan art, so I never got featured.
Oh, I don't think you had to do fan art, but
yeah, I got a few of original stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, and if you did like some fully produced Flash animation that, it doesn't have any story or anything, you're gonna get one. Like, it was...
Yeah. I think I had one for sure, maybe two.
Oh my god, that reminds me. This is insane, but I literally, now that you said that, I literally had this flashback of me going through DeviantArt and being like, how can I get a daily deviation? And then go into like, oh, I like Flash cartoons. And then I was like, I could probably pull this off. And that's...
Oh, man.
I could do this.
Oh my god, this is so big.
If you're someone who could do like frame by frame animation, because that was a big deal. Like, if you were someone who did frame by frame, meaning you did hand drawn animation where each frame or there's a new drawing for each movement, like you were considered an animation god. So you were looked up to if you were able to do like frame by frame, like traditional 2D style animation on Flash and keep a consistency. And because like a lot of people who are young really wants to be able to do that, and if you could do that, then you were automatically seen as a master.
That's so funny. That's so true. It's so funny because I do remember the first time I met you, Toniko, like online, because we hung out since I think I was probably 16, and I remember seeing your animations and I was just like, what the hell, dude? Like, it was so fucking polished. I was like, because you had like painted backgrounds, you had animated like full like hand-drawn animation, and you had like, and like the designs were complex compared to a lot of the other cartoons that were being made. I remember all that, and I was just like, oh.
Like, it's just like me having way too much time to myself. Didn't really have any after school activities or a lot of like clubs or friends that I hung out with after school. It was basically just like, I'm gonna use my time to make these cartoons and, do average at school.
How many cartoons do you think you made by the end of high school?
By the end of high school, I would say like not much. Like because I have a lot of like things that are left incomplete. They're just like a few shots and sequences that I started and just gave up on. But in terms of completion, I would say like I could only think of like 5.
That's already a lot.
That's a good amount.
Because your cartoons were kind of long. They were a couple of minutes long.
Some of them were like long, some of them were just like super short, but like super colored with broken English, because I was just like, I was not a good English student, so of course my grammar was off. So yeah, it was a time. And also like finishing something I realized is super hard. And I think that's kind of why like that experience like really helped me with CalArts films.
Right.
Because like that experience of just like crunching and, working super hard on like cartoons and how to like prioritize on things like really helped me with when I went to CalArts later on. But of course I went to Sheridan before that. So yeah, I guess that also helped.
How did that work for you? Like, so did you move to Canada right after you finished high school?
Yeah, so I think by my junior year, me, my brother, and my mom, we flew to Canada to do some school scouting. And I checked out VFS, so Vancouver Film School, the Arts Institute of Vancouver. And I was about to go to that one because my dad really just wanted me to go to that one and, be close to my brother. Because my brother was going to go to UBC. But then we visited Sheridan College in Toronto in Oakville, technically. It was like, it was basically like, oh my God, DeviantArt, but in real life. Because there was a lot of like people like me who were a fan of cartoons. They were nerds and they all had like desks right next to each other and they had incredible art like plastered on the walls. And, that felt like a community that I wanted to be a part of. So that's kind of why I went for Sheridan. But I did the animation portfolio. I tried to do it, and I got rejected. So, I considered, okay, maybe I should just go into the art fundamentals program because, even though it's going to take an extra year, and, when you're 18 or 17, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be held back. Oh, no, I have to, like, do an extra thing. Like, it did feel pretty big at first, but then I was glad that I took it because I got to spend time learning how to draw, making new communities, and being in a place far away from home. So I really enjoyed my time doing art fundamentals for sure.
Yeah,
I think it's like a really necessary step in my opinion, like because I have like a similar trajectory than yours, I guess, because like I also did 1 year of like a fundamental school, like drawing, before going into Gobelin. So like I think I'm happy that I did that.
I remember like you posted when you got accepted to Gobelin, you showed us you showed the joint artists forum your the work that you submitted, and it was just like on another level. Like, oh my god, we have to like be that high to get in like either Gobelin or any other animation school. Like, dear lord.
Oh, did I scare you? Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
It didn't,
but like,
I mean, it didn't scare me. It was just more like, oh man, okay, I gotta like, gotta work hard, gotta pump it up. And it was it was more inspiring than anything, really.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's funny because for me, I remember when I posted that, because I don't know, I think I said that in my episode, but there were some people when I showed you guys like what I submitted, and I actually got into Gobelin, but there were some people that actually said like, oh, I can't believe he got in, like she's not at the level of like the school and stuff.
Oh, that's like every other school, because like Cal Arts, like there were some people who had really bad portfolios, like they didn't even understand like anatomy or like basic figure drawing, but they still got in. And it's the same with Sheridan. Like there's people who are clearly not skilled but somehow got in. So it's gonna happen every time or everywhere. Yeah. I'm pretty sure like people have said that I probably shouldn't have gotten into Cal Arts.
Whatever.
It happens. Yeah.
Yeah, haters gonna hate, man. I don't know. Who cares?
Your whole life.
Yeah, there's always gonna be somebody to talk shit. But yeah, so talk about that a little bit more, like your college experience, and then maybe transition into like how you kind of first got your start doing work professionally.
College, Cal Arts, I would say like was a tough experience for me, but I think I needed it, because you're far away from home.
Oh yeah. And
like the people are, quite different, and I think, not quite different in a bad way, because like Canadians are super nice, and my friends at Sheridan were like one of the best ever. And then when you move to Cal Arts, like there's a bit of coldness with the students over there. Well, with how I felt, and it might not be true, but there were moments where I felt like, these people were cold. There were times where I got left behind a bar, or people would go drive somewhere to dinner, without letting me know or telling me. And these were friends that I knew too. So it was a very different feeling. Maybe I got spoiled from Sheridan, because like at Sheridan, like my friends would go like, hey, you want to get lunch? You want to get dinner? Come on, let's wait for everyone, and let's figure something out. But the student body at Cal Arts at the time was just like, they just disappeared. So I did feel like a bit of coldness with that. But in terms of the learning experience, I think I liked it because I got to be really close with some of my animation teachers, with some of my mentors, and they were really giving me some great feedback and how I could improve. It was a good place for me to sort of figure out what type of work I want to do. The short films are the things that I really benefited from, and that's one of the reasons why I chose Cal Arts. Like you got to make a film every year. But it was also quite hard because like, the stigma of Cal Arts is that like a lot of the kids there either get really good internships. Like when I applied to Cal Arts, there was a lot of like superstars like, Nelson Bowles, Jeff Flew, also from Joint Artists, by the way.
Oh, true, huh?
Yeah. Who else? Like Sabrina Coutinho. Like these are people, or, at the time, like Skylar Page. And these were people who were just like, as much as I hate using this word in animation, the rock stars of Cal Arts. So they would nail some really good internships. And, like, oh man, I want to be a part of this family. And, what was hard was that every year at Cal Arts, I always tried to get that internship and I never got it. And all my friends who were good and got that internship, like, came back as if, like, they learned a lot from it. Like, I had a big experience of like FOMO and things like that.
Oh yeah, I get that. I relate to that a lot. I feel like when I was in Gobelin, there were like other students that would get freelance. They were in class just like getting a bunch of freelance, and I was just like, how do you even know anyone that will pay you? Getting internships is hard. I don't know.
Yeah, it's I think because like I never got an internship, I always felt like I was behind.
Mm.
And it kind of, I would say like this is all in my head for sure now that I reflect on it, but I did feel a sense of alienation because you know, when my friends got back from the internship, it felt like, you know, it kind of felt like they were patronizing me every time they gave a feedback.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
you know, at like Disney, you would do it this way, or at
Okay.
this, like, and then, you know, I would finish like one of my films, and this was at a time when I finished my third year film, Wolf Song, and I finished it, and you know, some of those people who did those internships went, "I think you're ready for the internship." It's like, okay, fine.
Oh no! Oh my gosh!
So it was like it did feel like a bit weird, and I think it at that point when someone said that to me, I didn't really feel anything anymore because I was just so like burnt out and tired from it, and I realized that it really, really you know, fried me up, just like being worried about that and working so hard about that because you know, when I did get an internship, I would work super hard during the summer, like just to, you know, make up for it. But
what would you work on, or like what was your goal for?
so I would do like 11-second club challenges. I don't know
right.
if you remember that.
I remember that. That was such a big thing.
Yeah, I did that a lot because I was just like, I gotta improve somehow, and then I would also like just think about my next film. Like this next film is going to help me, you know, this next film is going to get me that internships, and I realized like maybe by the end of my third year, I was just like, you know what, I just want to make films just for the fun of it. Like it was just too tiring, like always constantly fighting for the internship, and it always made me feel awful. But yeah, like I think, you know, after finishing a film like Wolf Song, so after my third year film, you know, I actually got a job offer, but I couldn't take it. It was a really good offer too at the time. It was for Blizzard.
Oh, well.
And
I remember.
it was for the Blizzard cinematics team, and you know, no one at school considered Blizzard as a place to work in. It was just like, oh, DreamWorks, oh, Nickelodeon, oh, like animation places. But you know, like that was the first time like Blizzard reached out and said, "Hey, we saw your film. You know, we're offering you this." But of course, I couldn't take it because of visas. But deep down, I wanted to do another year at CalArts because I liked the filmmaking aspect of what the school is, like making films and being in a crunch and just making like the best film that you can in that circumstance. And I really miss that. I think that's the bit that I really had fun with overall.
Yeah, I think you should talk a little bit about the visa stuff because I know, and V, you have some input too, but the visa struggles are a nightmare. It's like everything I've heard about people who end up in America and just want to stay in America working in animation or in art. It's like you have to jump through hoops just to like, you know, not get kicked out.
Yep. I mean, we're both green card carriers now, so...
Yeah,
oh, that's good.
I remember, it's crazy because I remember I was in Japan when you started talking about the green card or like your visas. And at the time, for me, when I was in Japan, I felt like it was impossible for me to go to the US because I was like, someone has to believe in me enough that they are going to be willing to convince a studio to get me a visa. At the time, I thought getting a visa, it was like so much money and impossible. Now, knowing how studios work, I'm like, a visa is not that much money, honestly.
No, for them,
like,
no.
It's not that much money, but sometimes like the producers make it seem like a big deal.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about this. Maybe I'll talk about this now. But there was one time where I was threatened on the phone by a producer because, you know, there was a time where I was about to just jump ship to another studio because the studio that I was in would not accept my negotiation, and they finally accepted after like several weeks, and they said, if you decide to jump to this studio, you know, we're paying so much for your O1 visa, and if you do quit, you're burning bridges, And this
Oh,
is
yeah,
all on
yeah,
the
yeah.
phone. I wish I recorded it, honestly, but
Oh,
that
man.
was an actual threat. And I even said like, "Yo, this took weeks to like for you guys to accept it." They're like, "Yeah, but the realities, terrible."
Honestly, that's something that has happened to a friend of mine, like someone that is not you, Toniko. But by that I mean it's like this is a pretty common occurrence for studios to blackmail.
Yeah.
I mean, this sounds really harsh, but it's definitely something that happens and that is very
It's
scary.
like bordering on blackmail. Like it
Mhm.
really is like putting pressure on you because you have no legal obligation to stay at a studio just because they paid for the work visa. Like that's their, companies will pay for like relocation costs. Like that's a thing that happens with like game studios and shit. Like, they're hiring from all over the country or the world. And so it's just like trying to bully people to not leave is like, fuck off. Like you as if you don't have the money to do this. Like it's just so fucked up.
I think, yeah, something that I would say would be like, I guess now that I have been here for a couple of years, if I could talk to my older self, I would be like,
Yeah.
if they did go through the trouble of getting you the visa for the first time, you're good enough. Don't worry about burning bridges.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's really hard because when you first come
Oh,
into
it's
the
hard.
country, But I don't know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, how do you feel, Toniko, about all that?
About like visas in general, or like
Or just like, like if you could, like, when you were on the phone with that person, did you feel like you didn't really have a choice, or did that like kind of impact?
I think in a way, like I think it was both. Like I didn't have a choice, but at the same time, I was like, there was another offer that I had that I could just
Right.
like ring up and say, hey, et cetera, et cetera. And I still had my other visa at the time, my own O1. So if I left, it wouldn't be a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, so how did that work? Like, can you explain that for
Yeah.
our audience a little bit?
Yeah. So, what you can do is go through your own lawyer instead of a studio's lawyer, and they'll give you some ideas on like how you could do that. One way is to either do it through an agency, maybe it's through like Gotham or whatever. They're the ones who sponsor your visa, and if you do gigs, for example, for Nickelodeon, it's Nickelodeon paying that agency, and then that agency pays you because you're supposed to, according to your visa, you're only supposed to receive income from the place of your sponsorship. So I would get paid from Gotham, for example. So I went through something like that where, we had to sort of like, talk with the lawyers and have a corporation figured out to do that stuff. And it was just like a lot of like, it's not just like that. It's also like getting letters from people that you've worked with in the industry. And
Yeah,
then,
the referrals. Yeah.
Yeah.
and then like having an itinerary of like, oh, these are the works I'm going to do with these specific people, and they have to sign it to prove that it's like, okay, this is legit. And then just like articles about your work, if your name's been mentioned online, if you've won awards, like that's evidence for that O1 visa that helps build that case. So I would recommend like anyone trying to get into like the visa stuff, like consider looking into a lawyer, because they're going to also like try and figure out like what's specific to you, rather than just like, oh, you in the studio,
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
That stuff can get expensive too. Like I take for granted the fact that like my parents did the hard work of getting me over here, and I don't have to deal with any of that, because man, that sounds stressful.
It's like, honestly, it definitely feels like a second job. When I
Yeah,
finally
I can
got my
imagine.
green card, I was like, oh, the possibility, I am free.
Oh my god, yeah. Like I feel so free now,
Yeah,
like just
yeah, yeah.
having the green card.
Yeah.
It was like, if it wasn't for the pandemic, I would have been in Vegas right now, just like splurging and going to the buffets and just eating a lot,
Yeah.
or sending my friends to party with me. But we both got it during the pandemic, so it was the most bittersweet like
Yeah.
experience, because it's like we got it, but it's like, because like, so when they're processing your green card, you can't really leave the country, and you
Yeah.
can't really travel, so you have to kind of stay put. And then once we got it, it's like, well, we still can't leave because
Yeah,
of
you
the
can't
go
pandemic.
I'm so
This is
happy
fun.
though. I feel like even though I got it during the pandemic, I was just so happy that I was just like, wow, if I am not happy on a job, I can quit.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best thing for me because honestly, it's just like, yeah, like if you're on a visa and you're like you go on a production and then it's like, gosh dang it, it's not the right fit, like and it's just ugh. I can't do like it, and then it becomes really hard because you can't really look for a job because you can't post it on social media because it looks really
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, and then, like, because and also it takes time to like process. Like if you're on a visa and you switch to another one, it's like okay, that's another like a few weeks to like a month or so just to get a new visa under that new studio that you're gonna work for. It's so tiring.
yeah, it's very stressful. It really is. But we are out of the weeds. We're out of the weeds now.
Yeah, feels good.
That opens a lot of possibilities too. But like before going into that realm of possibilities, because that was the thing that I kept saying. I was like, when I'll have a green card, well, maybe I'll go indie or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Oh,
Yeah. Before we go into that segment, I was gonna ask you. So you finished your films at CalArts. You had the offer from Blizzard, and what happened after that?
oh yeah. So during fourth year Cal Arts, like DreamWorks announced that they were doing a story trainee program, and they were looking for people or potential trainees for that. And I actually just like I think me and a few classmates we applied for it and we made a portfolio for it. And then we got an email back saying, "Hey, we'd like to give you a test for it." And they gave us a test right in the middle of crunch time in our film. So we had to basically do a storyboarding assignment based on a prompt and on top of our student films. So that one sucked because like I did have to sacrifice a week or two doing that assignment rather than working on the short film. And so when we got the test, we're thinking, okay, they're just going to make us do what the previous trainees did was with like, okay, Kung Fu Panda characters doing following a script. But no, they were like, no, let's make them come up with their own characters, their own story, and following this sort of theme or prompt. And we're just like, oh my god, it's like brainstorming a mini film. Why? And so we did it. I did it. And then we submitted it. And then they called us in for the interview. And I remember that was the first time I met Rad Seacrest because he was the one who was going to lead that trainee program. So he was in the room. Tracy Mayer. So yeah, it was an interview and just basically just did that and just waited to hear back. And some of my classmates started getting, acceptance. Like they got the trainee. So two of them already got it. And I think those were the only two that did the test really in my school. And so I'm waiting, and I just finished my film, and my film gets accepted for the producer show at Cal Arts, and during producer show, that's when I got the offer to like do the trainee. But here's a funny story around this time, because after I finished my film, I also applied for the Pixar internship again, and they never responded back. So I asked them like, "Hey, what's new with that?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah, we were due to the overwhelming, people who applied, we decided to move forward with our candidates." And I'm just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And then 4 days after the producer show, Pixar reached out again saying, "Hey, would you like to do the internship?" And I said, "Wait, did you guys just reject me? Did you guys just turn me down?" And they were like, "Yeah, but the supervisors saw your film at the producer show and they would like you as an intern." I said, "I'm sorry, but I have a job offer now." Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." I said, "But in the future, I would love to like work with you guys in the future." And they're like, "Yeah, maybe." They said that on the phone, and then after that call, this is the kicker. So after that call, I think it was like about 2 or 4 minutes after the call, I get an email from Pixar, basically resending my rejection letter, saying like, due to the overwhelming candidates, we decided to move forward. So they resend me my rejection letter again. So I'm just like, what the hell?
Somebody's not communicating. That's insane.
Yeah, and then like, sometime after I was hired at DreamWorks and I was already working there some time, and one of my friends, Mike Yates, moved to Pixar already because people were already starting to move around, and DreamWorks was at a weird time. So my friend Mike Yates went to Pixar, and he was doing he's a trainee partner too, so he was like, hey, let me recommend you. It won't hurt. So I said, okay, that's really nice of you, Mike. And I get an email from one of the recruiters at Pixar that said, hey, Toniko, I just want to let you know your friend sent me your way. And I just want to let you know we're not moving forward with you.
What?
Happy to keep in touch, though. And I never talked to this recruiter once in my life. So I had a very weird relationship with Pixar in general.
That is, wow. Wow.
It's always disappointing but not surprising.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just, I don't know, I feel like, just tell me once. I just need to hear the rejection just once, please.
Don't keep rejecting me. Please.
Yeah, I got it the first time. I'm not that dense, Oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a crazy time, but there was a time when I was working at DreamWorks, because they couldn't secure my work visa, I had to fly back to the Philippines and just live there for 6 months, basically doing freelance for people. And, at that time, you don't know if you're going to get the O1 or not. Mm-hmm. It's still, in the air. So I was already considering, maybe I move to Europe. Maybe I check out England, or maybe I move to New Zealand and check out these places. So I got really, really excited. And then that's when, I got an email saying, hey, just letting you know, your O1's been approved. So that means, I have to really start reconsidering moving back to America. Because once you get that O1 approved, there's a time set on how long that lasts for.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that I can fly back immediately, because I still have to do the embassy stuff. I have to get it stamped. And in the Philippines, that takes at least a month or so. Mm-hmm. It takes a month to reserve it. You send in your thing. And during Christmas, it's so packed. So I don't think I got my passport till maybe a week or two. And then that's when I could fly back and work in the US again. So yeah, visas and work. Oh.
Oof.
It's so much.
Big oof.
It's a lot. Boy, oh boy. I'm glad that we made it through. Would you have
it was good times.
Yeah. New Zealand sounds awesome though.
I started daydreaming. I was like, okay, maybe I should move to these places.
God, I dream of living in New Zealand, but I also haven't visited, so maybe I'd hate it. But just from what I hear, it sure seems nice.
Yeah, living in Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Seeing the Kiwis and stuff.
There's beautiful vistas all around. Nice, quaint little towns.
Yeah.
So, where'd your career take you from there?
So I went back to DreamWorks. I think that was my third time coming back to DreamWorks, because the second time, the first time I wasn't really let go, but they made it sound like I got let go. But they basically asked me if I wanted to move to TV, so I said yes. So they're like, okay, we're letting you go from feature, but we're hiring you back into TV. They're kind of different companies in a way, because I had to get a different visa for each of those.
I see. Yeah.
So it's and that's when they couldn't secure my work visa, so I had to fly back. So when I came back, that was my third time being at DreamWorks. So I was there working under the Chris Sanders version of the Croods too. And then NBC or Comcast bought off DreamWorks. And that's when they decided to shelve some projects for the time being. One of them was mine, and I got let go again. So I was just working for different places. I worked at Strange Weather Films, then I went to work for Toniko House, which is a great place. And then around September of next year, that's when I got brought back into DreamWorks Animation for Dragons 3. And then I've worked on a bunch of projects since. And then I went to Netflix, and that was based on a choice that I made. Instead of being let go again, I said, I think I'm going to move to Netflix, because with DreamWorks, I felt like I was being loaned out to several different projects rather than belonging in a project.
Yeah.
So there's a thing at DreamWorks called Dreamtime, basically it's their version of Gap. And Gap sounds ideal at first because it's like, oh, you're not really on a project, you don't really have to work, and you can basically do whatever, and you're getting paid for
explain
it.
Gap, because I don't know what that means.
So it's basically like you're not in a project.
Okay.
You're not under a production. You're under the studio, and usually like they just put you into random projects for the time being, or they don't. And when they don't, it's like, oh, okay, you're just there to show up. Yeah.
Damn.
But
okay.
And it sounds ideal at first, but then there were times where they'll put you in like, oh, do this marketing assignment that the advertisement team needs. Like, do these advertisement tools, or here, come up with this drawing, or fix this drawing for this thing. And then, they would bring you on to some projects just to do fixes and cleans. And it didn't feel good. So, I was also doing some work for Kipo, and then so for Croods 2, under Joel Crawford. And then after, my work was done on Joel Crawford's version of the Croods 2, I was put back on Gap again. I wasn't immediately transferred to a new project. So that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to have to go back to my Netflix offer and see if they still have it available. And they said yes. And I said, okay, there's a project that actually, wants me. So that's kind of why I decided to, give up my DreamWorks visa, leave DreamWorks and go for Netflix. Because being in Gap is just like what am I doing here? And you don't really feel like you're a part of anything.
Right, I see.
Yeah, I can see that being very like feeling othered almost, like you're not a part of any team.
Yeah. So I'm glad that I'm here now, because I do feel like I am contributing to stuff. So yeah,
that's been a whole journey, dude. I feel like and Netflix, that has been how many months now?
Netflix has been years, not years, but since February 2019.
Oh yeah.
So
it's 2 years.
2 years and almost a half.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Technically yours.
Yeah, technically yours. That's great, man. That's a hell of a journey. I think that like you seem to really like know what you want and you pursue it, and that's great. And then you have the skills to back it up, so you actually can like push forward. And I guess, and then having that green card is like probably makes it so much easier to actually make those decisions when you're not worrying about being, kicked out of the country for just following like what you want to do.
Yeah, it does feel like a huge, golden chain ball attached to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a very good description.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about your influences, like you've mentioned like Mega Man Legends and Final Fantasy 8
and 7, but 8,
and 7.
Oh man, Squall and the Gunblade and emo-ness. Oh,
Gunblade is great. I'm a big fan of any Gunblade.
I feel like that would break anyone's wrist, right? Like you're holding a trigger.
No, your arm is shattered.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Totally impractical. Terrible idea, but it's fucking
is that a Tetsu Nomura thing? I feel like it would be.
I think he did all the designs for all that.
And the belts.
So many belts. What other stuff do you consider an influence on your work?
Definitely there was. I'm flipping through my memory right now. I think Escaflowne was one of them.
Interesting.
Actually.
Okay.
Escaflowne. The reason is because that was the first time I saw anime where the noses didn't look like it was just like a block.
Yeah.
But also the nose and Escaflowne are so
great. They're so beautiful. Like if you see their side profile, it's like, damn, that's a fine nose. Like
I'm looking at it now. I don't think. Oh my god, yeah, they really do got some.
They're really beautiful schnauzers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're very pretty too.
Yeah.
Looks like my nose. Man, that's crazy.
So Escaflowne was one of them. Was one of my inspirations, because I love the anime. I love the soundtrack. I love the overall tone and mood and just the atmosphere of it. Escaflowne is one of them. It's funny because the character designer for that, Nobuteru Yuki, did a bunch of stuff that I ended up liking, but I didn't know was him. So I think he did character designs for an OVA based on Leiji Matsumoto's Captain Harlock, and he did an OVA designs where of course, like it had the Leiji Matsumoto feel, but everyone had cool noses. And I was like, whoa, this art style is cool. I love this 70s art style. So I go back and I look at Leiji Matsumoto and I'm like, oh, okay, that's really cool. But where are the noses? What the hell? I was fooled.
Yeah.
And then, that's when you learn that, oh, okay, it's a particular dude who drew those really nice noses. Okay. I think Wolf's Rain was one of them that really inspired me in anime.
Okay. Interesting. I don't hear that. Neither of these I hear mentioned very often. And so it's nice to hear something that's out of the norm.
Those are like a little bit more like adult too, I guess. Like.
Yeah, for sure. I think so.
Yeah, because like I know in America, like Dragon Ball Z, Cowboy Bebop, and Toonami like was really big, but I think we also got a lot of like other anime here too that aren't as popular. Like I think we got like Technolize, we got all these like really deep, I wouldn't say deep, but maybe like not super mainstream anime.
Right.
Some of them were really experimental, so.
It's funny because for me, like being in France, I was watching Cowboy Bebop and Escaflowne at the same time. Like those were like the big anime that was on like national TV, I guess, at the time. So yeah, a blend of both.
Yeah, and Cyber 6 was one of them, actually.
Cyber 6, damn.
Like, I didn't really, because I saw it as a kid back in Singapore, and I totally forgot what the name was, but I remember like what the designs and the overall like characters just like stuck in my head for a long time, and it took me like years later to find out what that anime or cartoon was.
Yeah, it's kind of.
And
obscure.
I found it. Yeah, it is obscure, and I found it. I'm like, oh my god! Like I can see why this appealed to me. Like everything about it is so like it's edgy, it's stylized, and it makes like things that I don't think that I would like look really cool.
Yeah, I can see that. I feel like your work has kind of like a, like a storybook quality almost, and it's maybe like sort of Disney adjacent, but a lot of the references and stuff you're mentioning are like anime and video games, and I'm wondering if there's something that you're pulling from with that kind of style. That's sort of like the like the animals and like
big hair, epic noses.
Yes, epic noses and big hair. But is there something that you're like pulling from with that?
I noticed that I really love isekai anime. That's
interesting.
I think like I think like for me the things that I catered towards to as a kid was like stories of like ordinary people in like really weird places. So there's video games that do have that element. There's a lot of anime that have that element. So I do gear towards that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
Because you did talk about the Last Unicorn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I mean the thing that I loved about The Last Unicorn was just like, so at first I thought it was just like the overall mood, the tone, the music. Music's great, by the way. What else? Like just the character design and how scary things can be. But I really like the story overall. Like I like coming of age stories. I like stories where it's about like self-discovery, and one of the reasons why The Last Unicorn really appealed to me was it wasn't your classic like good guy versus bad guy sort of thing. It was about an immortal creature that suddenly became later in the film the story she is transformed into a human, and she hates it so much, but she starts developing human emotions and stuff like that, and she starts to fall in love with the prince, and like stuff like that I find really compelling. It's a good story. Yeah, I can see that being an influence. We gotta ask the creative block question. How do you deal with creative block, and what does it look like for you? Creative block. I think it comes in many different. The block itself, it can be a fat block, it can be a tall block, it can be a really long block. So I think it comes in many different forms. And so with me, I feel like I always have creative block. I feel like I am having sort of a creative block right now.
Okay.
But that's also because like there's just a lot of things going on in my life right now, like priorities or things that I want to do. Some people like there's a lot of things that one could do with a creative block. Like you could totally just take a break from the work and really just take a break from it, which I think there's validity to that. one thing that I like to do is sometimes just like use that block to just study things. Maybe like study from footages and just like copy images from that.
That's good. Yeah.
Just like to expand that, and you know, or maybe like sometimes a creative block. Man, I could talk about like creative block all day. It can also happen with like you know, there's something that there's like a hesitation in you that's like afraid to sort of like make mistakes or make errors, and
For sure.
you know, being someone in this industry for quite a while now, and you know, wanting to always produce good stuff, like you kind of have this, and because I'm ambitious, I kind of have this desire to like make the best thing that I can, and everything, whatever I do is going to be better than the previous thing, which you shouldn't always think. And you know, sometimes I think it's a good thing to sometimes be an idiot.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, it's not like you're saying that you're stupid or you're bad or an idiot, but I think when I sometimes tell myself like I just want to be an idiot and, you know, be a dumb kid, to me, like, I don't find that negative. I find that freeing, because it's now like saying, okay, I don't need to hold these standards against me that's stopping me from doing these things. And, you know, I can poke fun at myself, and I can just like, you know, make crazy things. And, you know, at CalArts, we had the 48-hour film, and that's when everyone was an idiot. Mm-hmm. Everyone went to really like crazy sex jokes, or there's a lot of rapey jokes.
Yeah.
In those films. But like the thing that was so freeing about like 48-hour films is that you just, you know, go really fast, you just wing it, and it's okay to be, you don't have to make the best thing. You just try and make the thing that's either funny to you or fun for you. And of all the films that I've made, I think the 48-hour films are my favorite experiences, because like when I watch my films, I'm like, okay, I had fun. Okay, it's not meant to be good. And okay, these are actually funny. But now that when I watch my student films, I cringe, because it's like, okay, maybe I was trying to be too serious, or oh man, I was thinking so hard, or trying to be so perfect. Like, I think those things made me cringe. But with 48-hour films, I could always watch those and say, yeah, you know, I was an idiot. It's cool.
Honestly, yeah, I relate to that a lot, in the way that, like, I feel for me, like, creating or writing or drawing like drama is so much harder than comedy, because comedy will always be, I mean, if you're doing comedy, it's always going to be funny, but drama can be cringe so easily.
Yes. So okay. I have stuff to say about that. It's exactly how you said. I would prefer to make something that is, I would rather have someone laugh at my work that's trying to be serious than me doing work that's meant to be funny and no one laughs and just cringes.
That's funny. Yeah. That's interesting, because I feel for me, doing something funny is easier than doing something dramatic. Because if I do something dramatic and someone laughs, I will be so hurt. I would be way more hurt than if I do a joke and nobody laughs, because I guess I'm more used to that. Like,
that's really interesting. I don't feel that way. I feel like it's easier to do drama. Like, drama is, for me, is easier because it's always kind of the same beats, and like, you know, I know what kind of stuff will trigger an emotional response in people, but comedy is hard, because like, if it's too predictable, or if it's something that people have heard before, or it's just like cringy, I don't know, like I always have a harder time with good comedy, but that also might be like an interesting reflection of like our own personalities. I don't know.
I feel like, yeah, like for me, the problem with drama is that if drama, like, of course, like I understand the beats and everything.
Yeah.
But if you're not being real with the drama you put in, with what the character's going through, it's gonna come out cringy. And if you're being real and you show it and somebody laughs, you're really being vulnerable there. You know what I'm saying?
No, Whereas I do get it. Yeah.
With comedy, is like, you're not being that vulnerable. Comedy is kind of an armor, as I see it, you know, to shield you from...
I think it's because, like, I tend to think very seriously sometimes, or think too hard. So, like, when I want something to be funny and I want everyone to have a good time, I think that's the thing. Like, I want everyone to have a good time, too. So... like I remember at the open show at Cal Arts, like one of my films, Wolf Song, even though it's supposed to be dramatic, like everyone was drunk, everyone was howling, and everyone was just like laughing and we're going crazy. And I was just like, okay, we're all having a good time, so this is good. Like I feel good because everyone's happy. But then, like, I worked so hard on a joke, and I think it's so funny. I'm like giggly about it. I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna tear down the house, and I pull it off, and no one laughs. I'm just like, man, dang it. And I guess the truth is maybe I was just too serious on myself thinking about what could be funny. So that could also be a factor. Like you said, it's more than just it's based on personality too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've like, I mean, I can only, my example that I'm thinking of is with my short with Planet Panic, and like the comedy, I wanted to make sure that it was like original but also kind of reminiscent of stuff people have seen, because if it's too original and people don't get it, and that I was really honing in on that. But the dramatic beats were like easier because I think I already knew what the characters dynamics were, and so the big moment for me in that short was like at the end when like Pibble starts singing their song and then Zeus starts singing along, and like that to me was like, this is the part that I want people to feel an emotion for. And it's a comedy short, so like everything else had to be filled out and had to be interesting. But as long as that moment worked, it was just that one moment for me. I guess I think it also depends on like what the genre is and like what your goal is with whatever piece you're producing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like your short was like more dramatic leaning, and then you were kind of, there was some jokes in there. Is that true?
No, there were no jokes at all. It was like it was quite serious.
So I mean, if you were doing specifically drama and it did not get it was not getting the right response. So yeah, I can see that, because that's a specific intent that you had. Yeah, I don't know.
It's also what kind of like drama you're going for, because there's like there's like the drama in Planet Panic is really low key. It's not like,
it is low key.
It's not like drama where you're supposed to cry or like feel
that's
really
true
sad, or you're just it's just like, oh, this feels good, like
yeah I guess when I think of it, I think of it in the context of the kind of stuff I make, which is lighthearted and comedy driven. So the dramatic moments, the dramatic moments punctuate the comedy so hard that it's easier to get away with, because hopefully it takes you aback and you're like, wow, I did not expect that from this comedy thing.
Yeah, I think Futurama is one of those, right?
Futurama is a great example.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Futurama is great.
Like even though it's like pitched as a like comedy, like there are moments that got me teary eyed. Like it's not, it's like low key drama. It's like very, very subtle.
Yeah. Well, the hard part for them is making it funny. But I think it's like, if you're focusing on comedy, that's going to be the hard part, because it's harder to maintain that throughout a runtime, however long it is. But if you want to sneak in a dramatic moment, you kind of have, I don't even know what I'm trying to get at here. But I think that like, depending on what you're pursuing, I think the other one will be easier because it'll catch people off guard. And so it'll be easier for people to kind of accept it. So if it's like a dramatic story you're telling, if you slip in a little comedy bit, it'll be such a release that people will be more forgiving if it's not perfect, because they'll be like, I think that's what I'm trying to get at, is that it's like, depending on your intent, one or the other will be more challenging to get right.
No, that's a fair point, actually, because I mean, I think I was at a time where I just wanted like, I think like working on like a very dramatic film just made me sad and mellow. So like, seeing people like have a good time, no matter if they laugh at a dramatic thing that I did, it's like, you know what? Maybe I did need that after all. Like, just like everyone having a good time.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, a crowd, you can't control an audience, and like, so I've definitely been there where I'm trying to show people something and they're like distracted, or not. It's not the right mood or the vibe, and I'm like, this is supposed to be. Like nobody's watching, everyone's laughing, and you're like just pissed off because it's like, come on, I work really hard to make this a certain tone. So yeah, I get that. We had some good questions that I would love to ask you.
What's up?
So from @FairyTank, I'd be super interested to hear about your experience in Canada and how it is to work in animation there. Also, how much of a chance does someone have to enter a studio with a portfolio compared to without going to animation school? Is it frequent to have this kind of application?
I mean, so the thing is, I never really worked in Canada. I only studied at Sheridan for a year, and it wasn't for animation. It was just for art fundamentals. So I don't really have much of a say about what it's like working in Canada because I've never really had to work in Canada. In terms of like getting a job portfolio based or without going to school, yeah, there are people who have, gotten into animation. Actually, many people who have gotten into animation without going to a formal school, but went through like maybe Concept Design Academy or online courses. And that would be something I would recommend if you just want to get into like a certain discipline that you want to get into. So the reason why I chose CalArts is because I like being in the community and I like making short films and I just want to like learn a lot of different things and experience that college life. But if you wanted to like just work in the industry, that you wanted to work as a story artist or an animator, there are like 10 session classes you could take just for like, I would say like $700 to $1,000. So that's like way, 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 way cheaper than your college school. And then you can make a portfolio on the side because yeah, it's true. Like most studios just look at portfolios and reels and they see if you can do the work or not. You don't really need a degree for that. But it's a different story with international students for sure, because for international people to qualify for a work visa, you do need a degree. Yeah. So anything equivalent of that or an actual degree. So that's the only thing that I would have to point out with people who have to deal with visas. They do need some form. If they want to get the work visa, then they have to go through like a degree course or something similar. But that doesn't mean that they can't, do anything like the O1. The O1 technically does not mean you need to go to school, but you do need to have like an accomplishment in your career already or accomplishments to qualify for that. So yeah, I think that's the thing that I would point out. I know there were people that, and this was years ago, they asked me about Don Bluth's animation program, and from what I remember seeing, it was like 10 grand for like a year or something, which is like, okay, it's a good deal, but it is teaching like, classical or old animation, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But like this person reached out to me and said, hey, so if I go to this school and I just put in my resume, does this mean I get automatically hired? So there are people who don't really know that there are people who think that you don't need a portfolio, but you just need to go to a good school or go through a system, whether that's a short class or whatever, that is taught by someone prolific in the industry. So they thought like connections or anything like that would be an instant hire. So yeah, there were people like that apparently.
Yeah, I guess what you're trying to say is that, like, at the end of the day, it's not so much the degree, it's the portfolio. And if you go to a school, you can network. You have an easier access to network, which gives you a leg up. And obviously, if you're American, you don't really need to go to a college because you're not going to struggle with visas. But if you're international, you need a degree.
Yes, and that's the thing that just like is the kicker of because I mean there's a lot of like online YouTubers who talk about you don't need a school to go work in this industry, to work in this amazing field. But then, as someone who is international who had to go through all that, it's like, yeah, I have some things to say about that.
Yeah.
So, and you do too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for the O1, if you do work in a local industry, like for example, if you're working in French animation or Australian animation for probably 5 years, that makes you more eligible than
yes.
Yeah. But anyway, visas.
Oh, don't miss it.
Yeah, I completely get that. Another question from @Madeline Prism. What about talking about what characters you like animating the most? If creatures are human beings, or perhaps a specific character he was assigned to do that he really enjoyed bringing to life. and an animation team he really enjoyed working with. I'm curious about that.
Definitely, man. I mean, all the productions that I've worked in, I've benefited from like animating a bunch of different stuff. So, I mean, I think the one that I enjoyed the most was Pig, the Dam Keeper poems. They're just like these really cute, bubbly animals, like super cute, with dotty eyes, and they just bounce around. And you know, they were really fun to animate because you didn't need to think too hard. But that's not to say that I don't have fun with like other types of characters. So the production that I'm on, it's realistic. The characters are lanky. The limbs are long, and the proportions are just like close to realism. And the acting is just so detailed. And even though that's like both frustrating, it is like the challenge is like super rewarding because it like makes you really think about like all these very minute details. So I would say like I enjoy a lot of it. I do like, I guess you see me animate a lot of cute dancing dogs. So I would say like cute dancing dogs is probably like probably the top because it's like, okay, it's a cute animal character with a big nose and they just dance. Giant head, small body, dance. Easy, fun.
Yeah.
Family friendly.
That's the best stuff. Stuff that's easy and fun.
Easy and fun.
Is there any other questions that you had, V? Anything else?
I think that's it. I think I do kind of want to have you talk a little bit about what your future goals, you know, how you're kind of thinking about maybe going indie eventually or trying that out.
Yeah, so you know, it's still up in the air, but I did talk to like my coworkers and professionals and people that I look up to like about their opinions about it. So, you know, I talked to like people that I respect. I think I got a few people's opinions about it, and they were all of them were really supportive about it actually. Like they were like, hey, you know, maybe you should just try it and see if you like it or don't like it. Because here's the thing, and I'm pretty sure like some of you have felt this before too, and I'm actually like making a video talking about this stuff, which is like you know, that career FOMO. Like, do we want to see ourselves being a director or a lead or something, or do we want to like venture out and do our own thing? And the grass is greener on the other side, no matter what.
Yup.
So it's like some people like me, for example. It's like, man, you know, I would love to be given the opportunity to like lead or direct a major project. That would be really like a good stepping stone for my career. And I do think of things like that. Like, man, like what else is next for me? But at the end of the day, like thinking about that made me flash back to like 10 years ago or when I was at CalArts, because back then, like people were getting internships left and right and people were getting like offers, and you know, you feel this career FOMO or you feel stuck or you don't feel like you're growing. And even though I'm a professional now, and even though like I feel like I'm doing pretty well in the industry, the feeling still stuck, and I didn't really know why. And maybe it's because I'm really ambitious, but you know, I always think about it. Like, do I want to stick around, you know, see if I'm not missing out on anything exciting? Or do I just want to, like, you know, maybe just try, like, doing something on my own? Because it is so easy to, like, be tempted in a place or seeing yourself, like, career vanity-wise. Like, because, like, you know, a part of me, when I think about being something like a director, it's like, maybe it is for vanity reasons, and I don't know if I would really enjoy it. So it's just small thoughts like that, for sure.
Yeah, I hear you. I feel this is something I think about a lot as well. I think for me, the main reason why I don't go independent is that I haven't figured out how to make money.
Well, yeah, that's the tricky part.
Yeah.
NFTs, bro. No,
God. Yeah, I mean, I think I get why. I think I get why a lot of people were getting into it, because it is like, if you don't give a shit about the environment, it's an easy way to make money, but you know, at what cost?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, yeah, like for me, I just don't see the appeal of like trading NFTs to other people. So me, like, yeah, I would only get into like a business or money making a money making plan if I know that I'm also a customer of. So
it's a scheme.
Like, scheme.
It's a pyramid scheme. But yeah, the whole thing is dirty and messy. I had to mute it on Twitter because I got so fucking sick of hearing about it.
Yeah, no, there were like people like there was like a lot of people shaming each other, and there's a lot of like virtue signaling on both sides. But one thing that I hated the most in this whole controversy is like people being dishonest with themselves. So
Sure.
There are artists who say like, "Oh, we're doing it to represent like digital art and how we're worthy," and I'm just like, "Dude, shut up, man! Like you're doing it for the money. Where were you when like?"
Just say what it is. You wanted to make a
you just want to make money. Yeah, shut up. There are so many times where I actually wanted to reach out and say, "Bro, shut up! Like that's not the truth."
Yeah, it's fucking annoying. But it seems like it's already collapsing under itself. So
it's kind of like what's happening with OnlyFans. Like some people who get into it's like, oh, I'm expressing my sexuality, and like my thing is not. It's an art piece. It's not an object of desire. Yet they're making so much bank from it. It's like, okay, stop this preaching. You're doing it for the money.
Like that's fine. There's no shame in doing stuff for money. You got to pay your bills.
Yeah, like I have nothing against that. It's like, if you want to make money, just be honest with yourself. Just don't try and like say you're otherwise, because it's both. It looks bad on you and everyone else.
Yeah. Well, yeah. People are gonna tell themselves anything that'll comfort them, I guess. I don't know.
Isn't that the reality of?
Isn't that just how it goes? Thanks for coming on the show.
Of course. And I know that you guys are still doing the Q-Bomb stuff.
Oh yeah, we are.
Because I might have heard wrong, but is that something that you are considering like full time?
I can't talk about much because there's a lot of things in motion, but yeah, if I could, I would. I think that like I've talked about it here and there on a different podcast about how like animation has kind of burnt me out. And even you were talking about how like you want to go indie. And so it's like, I'll take the first opportunity that lets me be independent and do my own thing. And I know that it'll come with its own struggles and it gets its own stresses, because when you're not cashing a paycheck week to week from a company, you got to find that money somewhere, so taking it back to the other conversations we had. And like, so with Q-Bomb, it's like we make $0 right now. We've spent way more than we have gained. But if it were to work out where I could, yeah, fuck yeah. Like why wouldn't I like go, touring and doing merch and all these things like that shit's fun. And if people like it, then even better.
Hell yeah.
So that's, I feel like a lot of people I know are trying to go independent. It's like you spend enough years in animation or just working art jobs and you start to, it seems like there's two paths. Either you fully commit to this is a job and I'm just going to clock in, clock out and, live my life, which is totally respectable and I totally get it. But I see a lot of people who I think just want to have more creative control and they want to, be independent and they kind of go this other path where they start trying to like take more risks and they're trying to find their own thing and monetize their own work. I know the three of us seem to definitely have that goal.
Yeah.
And
100%.
And so yeah, you kind of just pick your path, and I think we've all three of us have been doing this for years and years, and so it's like, you get into your 30s and you're just like, okay, well, I spent my 20s hustling and to get to this point.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's like, now what? Because I don't want to do this for another decade or more. And like, the hustle is exhausting. At the very least, I want a different hustle. So, that's the long answer, I guess, is yeah, like Q-Bomb is chugging along where we have so much planned and we have to figure out a lot of stuff. But there's a lot of really cool news on the horizon. So especially now that things are opening up,
okay.
I have bookers that are like hitting me up for shows and this one person was like,
awesome.
This one person was like, I think that like, we're hoping to have a show in July. Like, do you think you'll be available in July? And I had to be like, are we available in July? Cause I was like, yeah, I get, cause it's like, we're all going to be vaccinated by like end of May, right? Like everyone that gives a shit is going to be vaccinated, and whoever isn't, fuck them. Like, I feel like I might just even ask for vaccine cards at the front, hey, you're not getting into our show unless you have a fully vaccinated card. And whoever doesn't, fuck them. Like, I don't care. Like, it's been free and you've had months. And so by July, I'm like, Yeah, right? Like at some point we're going to have to just get back to living our lives.
That's true. Yeah.
It was just it was weird to think about. It was a weird like, yeah, I guess we're almost out of this, huh?
Yeah, because I mean, I know that you deal with like concerts and stuff like that, and I also heard like news reports of like concerts are going to be open again after the 16th, and part of me feels like maybe that's a bit too soon because there's a lot of people who are also like hesitant to take the vaccine, or not everyone's going to be fully vaccinated by then. Because some of us just got our first dose just now, so
sure. Well, yeah, May is too soon. June is even maybe too soon, but at some point, like it's always going to be scary because we're all living with this fear now, but like it's just going to have to happen. Like there's a whole gigantic industry and all these venues and
I do
people's
feel like
livelihoods. Yeah,
is good. Like honestly, because they've been able to vaccinate so many people in just like 1 month, 1 or 2 months. Like
it's been crazy fast.
It's been fast, yeah. Because I don't know, like, when you got yours, or did
I got my second?
Oh, dang! Already,
yeah,
nice.
Well, I had there was like a place that needed to fill slots, and we jumped on it, and that was a month ago.
It's not Baker's. Okay.
No, I forget the name. But it was like an hour drive, but it was worth it, and it was smooth and easy. But yeah, I got in there, and I had my second dose last Tuesday, and I'm fine. It didn't really affect me.
What'd you get? Moderna?
No, I got Pfizer. I got Pfizer.
Okay.
But what's funny is that the day that I woke up to get my second dose, I woke up with like a horrible muscle spasm and in my neck, and so like for the next 3 days, all of my pain was just from that, and everything, all my other symptoms, I was just like, who cares? Like I was a little achy. I was like, whatever, I can barely fucking move. Like it was just like, I guess it was a good thing that I like had a horrible neck injury, but so I still feel it a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. My girlfriend had a harder time with like the muscle aches and the the chills and stuff.
Yeah, I just got mine last Thursday, and the next day I felt like low fatigue and kind of crap and sick. And then I was still, I think yesterday, like I was feeling better, okay. So I was like, you know what, my friends are going back into jiu-jitsu, so that's another thing that I do too. So like, just yesterday we just tried to strangle each other. So I think like I'm just so like, not only am I sore from the vaccine, but I'm also sore on my neck too. And I think the vaccine is just adding to that pain right now.
I wonder if maybe my neck stuff only got worse because of the vaccine, because it was like my immune system was having a hard time. But
from what I heard, it's like if you are having like some symptoms or a reaction to it, it means your immune system is like working and you're young.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my dad was saying that like he probably won't feel it. He didn't feel it. Actually, yeah, he got a second dose, and he wasn't really feeling it much. And he says that like when you're older, your immune system it's like your immune system just isn't as good, and so it's not functioning as well.
Yeah,
it's not reacting as well, which is interesting. You'd think it's the opposite, but yeah, we're young, we're vaccinated, and
it's time radical.
It's time to fucking party, man. I bet that LA, this is becoming the Vax cast.
Oh my goodness. It's like, so because the vaccines are open, like LA traffic is back. Everyone's driving harsh again around Glendale.
That's been that way for a while.
Oh, but even more so because I went to pick up food and that lot is empty. But now that there's traffic and there's indoor and outdoor dining, I had to park a few blocks away just to walk to the restaurant, pick up the food, and then walk back and drive back here.
Yeah, it sucks. I went to Whole Foods for the first time in like 6 or 7 months. Like usually you get delivery. And I was like, there it is. There's the feeling of always being in the way, always feeling like you're in somebody's way. Mm-hmm. And I hated it.
Yeah, I haven't like went to what's it called, Trader Joe's since the lockdown.
I hate Trader Joe's.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's the fucking worst. No matter where you go, you're in the way.
That's true.
It's and it's also like super. Well, the lines are super long, so I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I don't need this very specific chocolate or salmon. Maybe I can just go to like Ralph's and get whatever suffices.
Vaccines, well, not vaccines, but like the whole quarantine life, like I think it opened up a lot of businesses, and it also took off maybe not the stigmas, but like ordering groceries used to feel like a luxury to me. And now I'm like, why? I don't know, whatever. It's like worth the money to not have to deal with the fucking time
It
you
is,
spend,
yeah.
you know? And
Like-
now it's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Instacart, DoorDash. It's like,
yeah.
yeah. Oh my god, I can get this like very specific truffle alioli that I don't have to find in a market, but find on a browser. Oh my god.
Yeah. It really opens up the grocery game. It's like,
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about it. But anyway, that's the end of this creative block. Thanks to Toniko for being our guest and sharing his story.
Thanks, guys.
And thanks for listeners. Follow us on Twitter. It's at Creative Block, creative without the vowels, where we ask for drawing prompts and questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to my sister Clemens for editing the podcast.
Please subscribe to the channel if you love our content. I've been your host, Gene.
And I was V. Keep being creative, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Get your vaccines. Bye.
Bye.